Good morning, beautiful people. Happy Wednesday. And I know that y'all are beautiful people because I've had conversations with some of y'all and I have seen those profile pics. Again, happy Wednesday. Thank you for tuning into another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. I don't know what's going on. A couple weeks ago, I told y'all that I was sick. It started like on a Thursday evening, coughing, what have you. By Friday early afternoon, I started feeling bad. I stopped working early, came home, was supposed to go to an event, went to sleep, showered, drug myself into the shower, went to sleep, slept all day that Saturday evening, got up, all that stuff. And then by Sunday, I felt better. Y'all, I feel like the same thing is happening again. Yesterday, Monday, it started with the coughing. I was like, oh, just a little tickle that I can't seem to get rid of. Yesterday, throughout the day, I feel like it was trying to come on full blown. So I have taken Alka-Seltzer and all that because I was strongly considering going to the sentencing of Miss Karen Huger. Girl, I got the time, courtroom, all that. The sentencing is 9:30 a.m. this morning. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I can. I feel like laying back down in the bed as soon as I do this Potomac review. But Karen is being sentenced 9:30 this morning. We know what has come out as far as her sentencing. Before we get into this review, I want to play something for y'all that I hope y'all can hear. It talks about, actually, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to pull the video. Basically, it talks about what Karen's previous charges were. Remember when I did the video a couple days ago about what the Washington Post said that Karen has had 4 offenses between 2006, 2011. The only one that I could find is the one for 2006, which was a driving while impaired. Well, this person was a lawyer, and they said that Karen had gotten a couple of probation before judgments, which were not on file with the rest of them. So I don't know how she was able to get them to not be shown. Maybe she did some type of program or what have you. So she got a couple of probation before judgment, and then she got the DWI. So Karen truly may be child headed up down the river and through the woods, at least for a year or so. They had a couple of different lawyers based on the case information talking about how long they thought she was going to get. Some said 6 months, some said house arrest, some said no less than 18 months. I said, well, dang. So I guess we shall see. But let's get into this review. I hope y'all can hear me. All right. Whew, whew. Y'all, excuse this early morning look. I got up and was like, let me get this review done. We open and the ladies want to know what's going on with we open the reunion. The ladies want to know what's going on because we know Mia was upset. Andy goes back to comfort Mia. A producer tells him that Mia says she's leaving. Andy tells her, look, you're getting ready to go into a shame spiral and you're okay. Give yourself some grace. Okay. Come back out. You're beating yourself up about the Miami trip because you are shame spiraling or feeling bad. That means that you're a good person. That, or it means that she's put on Front Street and she's got to face it, and her way out is tears. I mean, who knows? If we given her the benefit of the doubt, we'll say because maybe Mia doesn't realize how heavy the weight of her actions are. And so she just goes through life like whatever, whatever, but your actions affect people. So Andy doesn't want her to shame spiral. So they cut back to the ladies on the couch, and Kay is saying that story needed to be told. Like it needs to make the cut, talking about Mia ghosting Jazzy and Stacy for her birthday dinner in Miami. So Andy comes back out, Mia comes back out, but she did tell Andy if she wasn't in the final weeks of her divorce, she probably wouldn't be that emotional. Now, Mia and Gordon did a live on either Monday or Tuesday. I have it on my phone. And I was trying to look at the dates compared to when the reunion was filmed versus the dates they're talking about, because Gordon said, for the sake of the kids, they are taking the divorce off the table. They're still getting a divorce, but they're taking it off the table, meaning he withdrew the beginning of February. We know the reunion was taped somewhere around what, January, like 25th, 26th, somewhere in that. So she said all they needed, they were at the finish line. Basically, all they needed was to sign off. The ladies were like, you're lying, you're lying, you're lying. In their live, Gordon said he withdrew the paperwork on in February, like the first week of February. I think he said February 3rd. If y'all watch that live, correct me if I'm wrong. And then said Mia could refile at any time. What I didn't understand was he kept saying, for the best interest of the kids, he decided to withdraw the paperwork. Even though they're going to get a divorce, that doesn't mean they're getting back together. And my question was, how was that in the best interest of the kids if everything is still remaining the same? It's not like you're saying, for the best interest of the kids, we're going to try to work it out and be together. You're just talking about the paperwork aspect of it. So I don't know what he meant by that. Sorry, y'all, had to pause for a minute to get some water and some tissue. So who knows what that means? But anyway, now we're all back on the couch on stage. As that is all going on, Stacy asked Wendy, where are the kids? Is Eddie going to take them? And Wendy's like, Eddie's going to be here. And Kay talks about how she dragged Greg up there. Then we hear Greg, who's probably talking to Eddie, says that Kay told him to come at around 4:52. I mean, Kay told him to come at 1:30. It's 4:52. He could have been bopping around Manhattan. I thought that was funny. Then Andy returns to the stage. Mia returns. Also, Andy asked Giselle how life is as an empty nester. She says it's great. She was crushed for about 27 hours when they left. Then she realized, wait a minute, I could do whatever I want to do. I'm free to do this, to do that. And I understood that with her. When my son first went away to college, his sister was distraught. I was distraught. My husband missed him. He showed his in a different way. I was crying and everything, me and baby girl. Then it was like, oh, okay, things are a little different. Routines are a little different. And then when she went away to college, it was like, wow, we have no kids in this house. And you start to think maybe I am getting older, even though you know you're getting older. But something about having little kids running around, young kids, makes you feel like a young mom, right? Like you out here just in it. And then we were like, we didn't have any kids at home. Then it was like, oh, we ain't got no kids at home. We eat when we want to eat, do what we want to do. House will remain clean. We ain't got to close doors if you want to do adult things. There is a difference. So I get what Giselle was saying. Like, I only have me, even though you still worried about your kids, still making sure they're good. You only have you to essentially worry about. So I got what she was saying. The twins are adjusting great. They both have 4.0s. Her relationship with Jamal is good. And she wishes the girls had a closer relationship with their stepmom. That's what I wonder about Giselle, right? Because we know that Giselle adds sauce, aka she tells the truth. She'll say things that are the truth, and then she'll say things that you find out are not the truth. And so you wonder. So when she says things like this, in my mind, I'm like, okay, it could be true, it could not be true. You never know. If they don't have a relationship with the stepmom, as she says, for her sake and the girl's sake, I hope that, a bond is developed. But I'm not gonna lie, I do wonder if that's true. Then they joke about Jamal and Carrie dressing like Wicked, and him dressing like Alphaba. She said at first she thought it was a joke, and her kids were horrified. Andy asked her about Nams. Remember the guy that she went on the date with? She says that what she said was, after we wrapped, he's stronger than ever. Didn't say she was still dating. She said he's stronger than ever. So I don't know. Did that mean their relationship is stronger than ever? Because we know Giselle went on and did Love Motel with Ashley. Excuse me, y'all. So what does that mean? I don't know. But she says they're stronger than ever. And he's become good friends with Jack slash Josh Hardlow, Ashley's little friend. So Andy asked Ashley, well, how y'all are doing? What's up with y'all? Ashley says they've slowed down their dating. They just don't have labels. Try they doing it with benefit. That's it. They friends with benefits. That's it. Because it's good to her, so they doing it. Giselle said because Nams and Josh have become really good friends, they talk, and Nams told Giselle that Josh said he's head over heels for Ashley. Andy asked Ashley how Josh/Jack Harlow felt about the names that Wendy was calling him. She said Josh was offended. Wendy and Ashley go back and forth, back and forth. Clock it. Refuse. Reject it. Reject it. I was like, what is happening? So Wendy says, you talked about my husband. Ashley said, I have not talked about my husband. When have I talked about your husband? Wendy's says, you talked about him in the cheating rumors with the blogs. Ashley was like, that's the blogs. Blame the blogs. That wasn't me. Blame the blogs. And Wendy was like, yeah, but you brought it to camera. Andy steps in and says, and all this time I thought it was Giselle. Giselle said, I took the heat for it. I took the blame for it. Now wait. Roll the cameras back. Season 6 trailer. They showed Giselle in a yellow turtleneck and Ashley. They were out at a little coffee shop. Giselle brought up the rumor about Eddie and the blogs to Ashley. They showed it in the trailer. They don't show it in the show. It doesn't make the cut for that. Giselle brought it up another time. They were in Ashley's sweatbox per Karen. Remember when Karen told Ashley she lived in a sweatbox? They were in the sweatbox and Giselle brought it up then. And the plan was for Ashley to crash because she wasn't invited. I don't think Candace extended her an invite. Did she or did she not? I don't know. Remember Candace planned that trip for them? So Giselle brought it up to Ashley at the sweatbox. Ashley and her breast milk traveled 4 hours. She didn't even stay the night, traveled 4 hours to bring that information up. And the clip that they played at the reunion says, Ashley is saying, Giselle told me. Yeah, Giselle told you on camera twice. So Giselle was not innocent in that whole thing. You didn't take the heat for it. You made sure to bring it up twice on camera. You were the quarterback. Ashley caught the ball and ran it on into the end zone, which was Wendy. So let's be clear on that. Wendy tells Ashley that she's miserable because Ashley was like, is Eddie still practicing law? Eddie's still practicing law. And when Ashley was like, blame the blogs, it's interesting that you're like, basically, I just repeated what the blog said, but when they was talking about your husband in the blogs and how he was always in the blogs and he was laying in bed in his drawers, basically begging that girl, could he go back to her place? And they show him standing up at the drawers, putting in his drawers. You didn't like the ladies talking about it then, so let's not. Anyway, they go back and forth, and then Andy's like, okay. Next up, they get into Kay and Stacy's package. So Andy asked Kay what the status of her and Greg's relationship is. She said they're still together. They actually looked at rings that previous week, which would have been sometime in January. She had moved into the new home with him, then moved back out. She moved into a condo, and she's currently in the process of buying the condo. She said, I forget the exact word she used, but basically owning something of her own is good. Andy says, when will you move back in with him? She didn't say anything, but the ladies were like, when she gets the ring, and she was like, yeah. So they talk about how Greg doesn't like to be filmed. And I have said this. Support can, like Andy said, support can look like, I don't want to do this, but I'm showing up. However, when you get into now you're being an a-hole on camera because you don't want to do it, just don't do it. Because that's not support. That makes Kay look crazy and you look crazy. And for us, the viewers, it makes us feel like this is who you are. You are this a-hole. Because every time we turn around, you're trying to dull her shine, trying to tell her what to do, what not to talk about on camera, even though this is part of my job. So either you're in or you're out. And I do believe there is a way to be on camera. And the camera shows your uncomfortability. I get it. But to not be an a-hole. You know what I'm saying? I definitely believe there's a way. So, and she brought up a very good point. She said, honestly, when I got hurt in that fight with Sesame Street last year, it hurt Greg. And she was just a friend of. Now she's coming back saying, I'm gonna be around these girls a lot more full time. This is gonna be one of my jobs. He didn't want her to be in that environment. He didn't know what could pop off. So I understand that to a point as well. But again, that doesn't mean you be an a-hole, you know? I try to take into consideration we only see a little bit of these people. We don't see their whole selves. At the same time, it's like you're showing us a-hole behavior. So, child, my hand is itching. Money. You got money. Y'all cash apping me. Taria S. Faison. No, for real, though. But anyway, so Andy recognizes how uncomfortable he is on camera. He said at Watch What Happens Live, he talked to Greg, and he told Greg, look, I know you don't like to do this. And he said, I'm here to support Kay. She thought that was very sweet. Andy says he can show up and still look uncomfortable on camera. I'm back, y'all. I keep having to pause it. I'm annoyed. I keep having to get some water and get some tissue. Anyway, so then Andy moves on to Stacy, and she says, your former significant other seemed like he was the opposite of Greg. The viewers and everybody thought he was the opposite of Greg and wanted to be on camera. The ladies are like, excuse me, did you say former? Wendy's like, y'all not together? Stacy says, we're not together. No. The ladies are like, we know that. Kay said, were they ever together? Stacy said, as she has consistently said, TJ is one of the best people that she knows. However, it was just a lot of pressure. And there were moments when she watched the show back, they were shocking. And the way they spoke to her family wasn't happy about that. And it was tough. She said it was hurtful to hear people say she was paying him to be on the show. Which we know Ken Pye had the tea that, in fact, allegedly she was. And he was behind, which is why she was behind in the payment child, which is why she wasn't there. Shout out to Ken Pye for that tea. So we'll be finding that out this upcoming Sunday. Stacy says that it was hurtful to hear that he was more interested in the trainer than to her. Wendy said, I said that. Stacy said, I know you did. And I was really hurt by that. You know how close, how Eddie and TJ have become friends. They text, and that really hurt a lot. Wendy said, I apologize, and I received that. Stacy is also officially divorced. That divorce was final, off camera. I said, all right now. Wendy said Stacy divorced before Ashley and me, and they asked how Arabella's doing. She said she's doing fine, but it's hard for Stacy because they do 1 week on, 1 week off, and that week that Arabella is not there, she's lonely. They told her to call Giselle. So Wendy said, so she did say her and TJ are still best friends. Wendy said, so basically nothing has changed. Y'all were best friends before. You're best friends now. Y'all weren't having sex before. You're not having sex now. So Andy says, could I ask a personal question? Stacy said, sure. He said, did y'all do anything? Like, did y'all do everything but sex? Stacy said, child, I didn't know it was going to be this intimate. TJ and I have had some intimate moments, but we have not had sex. And Giselle said, cunnilingus. Ashley said, anything below the belt. And Stacy said, I wish him well. I said, that reminded me of what the Mariah Carey song, I wish him well. That's because y'all not friends. Y'all not friends for real. Child, done fell down my lip. Y'all not friends for real, because we heard the one thing that we didn't hear distorted was TJ said, you're going to have to ask that girl. Y'all not friends. So Andy brings up that a viewer talked about TJ. I was asking Stacy, was TJ just for you to have a storyline or to boost his acting career? It was very reminiscent of Kenya and Walter. But the person says Walter wasn't as thirsty as TJ. Stacy said, are these fans of the show asking these questions? And that's how she kind of was at the DC show. Like when people asked, like, yes, they're fans. That's why they're asking these questions. That's why they can spot a fabricated storyline, Stacy. So Andy moves on to talk about the ladies' fashions in the 613 blonde. Ashley says this wasn't included, but the dress that Stacy wore for the finale, I wore months ago. Andy says, so was Vivian being shady on purpose? And Stacy says it's difficult because she's known Vivian for years, but it's obvious that she was being shady on purpose. Wendy brings up, child, her and Vivian ain't even friends. Stacy told me, F that B. Stacy says, I didn't say that, or I didn't talk like that, or something like that. And Stacy says, and Wendy was like, yes, you did. They were somewhere. Stacy took a sip of her drink and said, F that B. Either she took a sip of the drink before or after. Either way, child believes Stacy said it too. Stacy said, it's difficult because I chose to elevate her. Did y'all catch the look on Giselle's face? Like, you could see she really was shocked that Stacy was saying that. She wasn't just rolling her eyes. She was shocked. Giselle said, you elevated Vivian. How? And Stacy said by allowing her to be the exclusive fashion designer for the event. And she was mortified that Vivian would put her in an outfit that Ashley had already worn. The ladies are cracking up. Giselle said, so that's why it's FUB. Stacy said, absolutely. Stacy said it. She said, she's dead to me and it's over. After years of friendship, child. Wendy said, come on, Stacy, reading tonight. And the ladies are like, come out, Detroit, come out, Detroit. And I believe Kay is like, that's the Stacy that she roomed with in Lake Norman. Mm-hmm. Giselle said, where you been all season? And Wendy said, and she said, Wendy brought it out of me. Andy said, yeah, you're a real housewife. So Andy asked about the ladies being hard on her about that wig she had on. She said she was expecting a warm reception and they borderline hazed her. Giselle said, you're welcome. Ashley says, but have you not dished it? Like, basically, don't sit here and act all innocent when you also dished it too. And they used the examples of her saying that Mia was gorgeous as a brunette. That was funny. And about Ashley's bunions. They all agree the best person to wear blonde is Karen, although Stacy does say Giselle. Andy says, I have to bring something up. Never in my 18 years have I ever texted a housewife about an outfit. Then they show that Andy had texted a clip of Wendy in that blue Michelin Man arm type dress and said, we need to discuss this dress, professor. And Wendy responded back and said, OMG, I was so torn. This look was giving Michelin teas. So in the scene, Wendy says, I owned it. I look like a tired child. They bring up Kay's look with the white shoulders. Now, I thought there were people that liked it, but she said people tore her up online. Face and hair was beautiful. I thought the whole look went together good. Is that something you would wear? I don't know, maybe, but I thought the look suited her and looked really good. They talk about how hot Ashley is as a guy. Then they talk about Wendy being amused to the ladies and their outfits. She alluded to, I guess online, Wendy alluded to Ashley copying her Pearl confessional look. Now, Ashley says we don't see everybody's look until we watch it, but they all do meet up for the confessionals because that's when Giselle gave Wendy the dress that she purchased to wear to Stacy's Strut for Strays and gave it to Wendy. So they all do meet up for confessionals, but even still, Ashley would have had to already had the pearl outfit with her. Ashley said, Wendy says, they're peeking through my window. Giselle said, ain't nobody driving all the way to Pennsylvania to peek through your window. And they laugh because Stacy does live in Maryland. I mean, not Stacy. Wendy does live in Maryland. I know the area she lives in, but it is close to PA. Most definitely right up 695. So they talk about that. Somebody, a viewer wrote in, Mia, when you were married to Gordon, you wore blazers when you got with ink. You started wearing Fashion Nova and bringing messy storylines. So when I tell y'all, Kay is cracking up. The ladies are laughing. Mia said how she dressed has nothing to do with the man. She was working a corporate job when she was with Gordon. And Andy says, is Fashion Nova paying you? Mia said, yes, very well. I said, well, call me Fashion Nova. One of them said it's fast fashion. Anyway, Andy said that Wendy said, Andy said that Giselle was messy to buy the dress that Stacy didn't want everybody to wear, which is what we just talked about. Wendy confirms that that what Giselle said on Watch What Happens Live was true. She did give her the dress. And like I said, she brought it to her at when they were there, when they, I guess, were in New York or wherever they were to do their confessionals. So Stacy says, why not wear it for a good cause? Giselle said, I did, meaning, yeah, she did. She wore it for the Strut for Strays. I don't know why I always want to say um, strut for sluts. I don't know why. I don't know why that. And maybe I'm thinking of the slut walk with Amber Rose. I don't know, but literally that always comes to mind. I have to make myself say struts for strays, not struts for sluts. Anyway, um, so Stacy says, did you donate? And Giselle said, yes, I donated while I was sitting there. While the dogs are pooping everywhere, she donated. Stacy said, I'm going to have to check that. Lord, was she trying to recycle the Beverly Hills storyline at the reunion of Kyle says, and you raised your paddle and did not donate to my charity to Garcelle. Garcelle said, that's a lie. Stacy, no, we've been there, done that with that storyline. So they all, again, Andy says, you all went blonde at some point this season. Who do y'all think were at the best? They all voted for Karen except for Stacy. She said Giselle wears it. Then Giselle says, we all collectively had a discussion about Stacy's hair, all of us together. Giselle said, we were trying to help you because we've never seen your ears. We wanted to make sure that you were human. So they show a video that Stacy sent to Giselle showing her ears. Giselle said, and do you know what, I mean, Stacy said, do you know what you said back? Giselle said, what I say? Stacy said, nothing. She said, you probably hearted the message. So that was funny. Giselle said, I was just happy I finally saw them. Jacqueline comes out pretty and pregnant. And the baby is not any man that we have seen on the show, meaning it's not PP's man. So I guess they're done for good. Ashley says, was he at the rap party? And Jacqueline says, to be continued, more to come. On your Instagram? Because I know you don't mean on Potomac. Are you saying that because you coming back? Anyway. So Ashley says to her, do you know where we're at? Meaning the set, Panama. She said, where we had our beautiful memory together. They show a flashback of the kiss. Giselle said, is that your baby in there? Ashton said, maybe I am Ashton. So they bring up Mia's package with the kids, the divorce, all that. She's dabbing at her eyes. Andy mentioned Ink is not here and brings up Mia announcing that they broke up. Mia says, it's a lot. She watched the show back and she's bothered by the decisions that she thought she was making. She thought they were good decisions at the time. Watching it back, she realized she went about it all wrong. Andy said, but your tagline said ink is permanent. I said, they're not letting up on Mia. Mia said, ink is my best friend. And Giselle rolls her eyes. A viewer wrote in and wanted to know what the ladies' impressions were of Ink outside of his height. Child, we is shady as viewers. Wendy said he's a kind, respectable gentleman. But you come on the show, you film for however long, the outsiders don't know what it's like. So then you get the backlash from the viewers. It's something that no one understands or knows until they're in it. She said, so then you watch it back and you're watching viewers basically dog you out and you're like, what's going on? So I think he dated her and was like, yeah, I'll film with you. I love her. You're my boo. But once it was shown and the world gave him backlash, he was like, why are these people saying stuff about me? I don't think he expected it. Ashley said, Ink went a little bit hard with Gordon. Giselle said Ink very much wanted to be on television. He wanted more camera time. I don't believe they broke up. I believe they're still together. Ashley says, I do too. Giselle said, it's clear that Mia is aware of being trashed on social media. She said, as it relates to throwing Ink and Gordon and this whole triangle and the disaster and the disgustingness of it all. She said, they're still together. Mia lives in Ink lives in Atlanta. Mia knows we're about to film again. Mia lives in Atlanta. She does not live in DC, Maryland, or Virginia. Mia said, why would you say that? Stacy said, she doesn't live here. Look, this is where I say, well, so Giselle gets into how basically someone told her they see Mia on a plane in the back. traveling back and forth from Atlanta to Maryland. Somebody probably told Giselle that once that they saw her on a flight, or she knows the flight attendant or the pilot. Because seeing her once, that doesn't mean anything. I don't believe, I believe somebody told Giselle they saw, oh, I was on the flight with me and she was all the way in the back. I don't believe they said it like it's a reoccurring thing. Because again, unless she knows a flight attendant or the pilot, or unless it's somebody traveling with Mia, telling Giselle Mia's business. And this is where I say Giselle will mix truth and exaggerate and make it seem like that's the gospel. You know what I mean? She'll mix hearsay and make it seem like that's the gospel. Because I do believe Mia does live here in Maryland. And as a matter of fact, the Shade Room had played this clip earlier this week. I believe it was the Bravo Shade Room. I'm sorry. And I was reading the comments because, I fly straight to the comments, child. I take a Spirit flight to the comments because Spirit ain't been in the headlines for almost collapsing, losing a tire falling off, landing upside down and sideways, doing cartwheels into the runway. I forget where I heard that. Somebody said Delta did a cartwheel into their landing. But anyway, he have not heard anything about that with Spirit. But anyway, I took a Spirit flight to the comments and somebody said, Mia does live in Maryland. She lives in my building. So I do believe that part. But I also believe one person probably told Giselle, I saw her on a flight. So Giselle just put it all together. But anyway, so like I said, I think sometimes Giselle mixes some truth, some this, some that all together. So they bring up Mia's kids and Mia says they're homeschooled. They're privately homeschooled. And I thought back to when that conversation that she had with the kids about the divorce for the first time. And she says, oh, do you want to take these to school for your teacher? I believe she said to school for your teacher. To the living room? Because you said they're privately homeschooled, remember? I don't know why that made me think about that. But anyway, so Wendy says, so they talk about all that stuff, right? Sorry, y'all, I'm in my notes. So Wendy says to Andy, your question was, what do we think of ink? And I gave you my answer, but I'll be honest and say, then she says to Mia, I feel like you had this plan, you orchestrated for the season, and it backfired. Excuse me, it backfired on you. And then you saw it wasn't good for the brand and people weren't loving it. So you said, let me drop ink, and you start posting pictures. Giselle said, let me pretend to drop ink. Wendy said it was orchestrated. And Andy says, she's still getting a divorce. Wendy said, that's a lie. Mia, Gordon, and Ink are all in on it. So Mia was just sitting there. Mia then says, no. Andy said, what's the benefit? Andy knew, I think, but of course, sometimes you ask a question to prompt a response. So they were like, for the show, this right here, for her to be on the show, for her to have a storyline. Wendy said, when you take away all of that, what's left? Child, Mia says, a lot. A viewer asked Mia if she told her kids about the divorce for the first time on camera. Mia said, yes, she wanted to go to a family counselor. It didn't work out that way. Andy said, well, who's leading the charge on the paternity test? Like, who wanted to know? She said it was Ink. He wanted to know if that was his child. They were talking about it, and he wanted to know. So they talk about Jeremiah. With all this being played out on TV, he's bound to see it, and he's young. Mia says he's not allowed to be on social media. And they're like, but you don't think he's going to find out? And they talk about, his friends' moms, his friends may have social media. You don't think? Mia says he's 9 right now, but I know he'll see it one day. Another viewer says, Mia, you were hard on Karen about being transparent, but your stories about Ink and the timeline and all this doesn't add up. It sounds crazy to all of us. So it just seems like a lot. Mia says it just seems like a lie. Mia says it's not a lie. Kay says an exaggeration or a colorful story, or it seems like exploiting your family. Kay said a lot this part of the reunion. I said, come on, Kay, you better speak. Kay said, y'all are going to hear my voice this reunion, child. She thought about what Andy said about Portia, her first reunion. Remember, Andy said that during the season, they had decided they weren't going to bring Portia back, and Portia got to that reunion and sang for her supper. Cordell is not perfect by far. Kay said, let me get my voice in. Kay said, Mia, seemed like you're exploiting your family, child. Then Kay said, you already knew that this was the father. Wendy said, they bring up that whole IVF. Like, she said, didn't you say you had your child through IVF? Mia said, yes, she did, but she could have already been pregnant at the time. Child, the ladies were like, that's not true. They explained that before you take IVF, they give you a pregnancy test, and not just the pee on a stick kind. They give you the pregnancy test, the blood test that detects the HCG immediately. Okay? Immediately. I thought this is funny. I love seeing little moments like with Wendy when she's not the pulled up professor, which she gives us a lot of those moments, but it's just still funny. So they give you a pregnancy test. Wendy says, yeah, but you have to be like 4.5 more weeks or so for them to determine if you're pregnant through that pregnancy test. Wendy said, that's not true for IVF. Mia said, yes, it is. Wendy said, girl, like, girl, I'm not going to do this with you. So Stacy said, Mia, don't you just want to end this paternity stuff for your children? Mia says, I have. We've done a professional test. Jeremiah is Gordon's child. Another viewer writes in and says, Mia, you proclaim you want to protect your child's innocence, but how are you protecting them when you have adult conversations in their presence? And I think that was the conversation that they're going to get into is about when it was Mia, Ink, and Gordon at the house. So Mia says, look, Gordon and Ink were getting along for an entire year. The two of them were getting along. Giselle said, Gordon told you he didn't want to film with this man. And he didn't know that scene was happening until he saw the cameras. Basically, he walks into your apartment and sees the cameras. And remember when Gordon ended up leaving and was like, I told you, he was going to leave and said, I told you I didn't want to do this. She said, he told you he didn't want to film with the dude. He told you when the cameras were there, he didn't want to do it, but you thought it was good for the show. You thought it was good for your little story. Mia said she thought it would be good to show positive co-parenting. And Giselle was like, well, how was that positive if he doesn't want to do it? So then Mia brings up, look, when I got divorced the first time, Gordon and X were able to co-parent very well. Pause to that. In her live that she did with Gordon, she brings that same thing up. She says, Gordon, you were able to co-parent really well with my first husband. You got along. Gordon said, we didn't always. No, we didn't. And Mia said, no, that was in the beginning. Y'all, I'm sorry. I hear this noise. Child, I heard this noise. Almost sounded like a vehicle backing up, like a work truck, like the beep, beep, but it wasn't a beep. It was just a long, continuous beep. Everything's good, child. Flip this whole house upside down. But anyway, so she had said, y'all got along really well. And Gordon was like, no, we didn't. And Mia says, well, at first, before y'all met each other, y'all didn't get along. I mean, Mia. But anyway, so she's saying back at the reunion, listen, Gordon and my ex got along really good. They co-parented my 16-year-old son really well. I just assumed it would be the same with Gordon and with Ink. Mia, I think that's a totally different situation. Well, I won't say it's totally different, but you're adding cameras into it. Like this playing out for the whole world. Some other elements. You know, you had an affair with Ink. You also had an affair. Well, Gordon had an affair with his first wife with you, so him being mad is like, But so I think it was a little bit different. Anyway, Andy asked Jacqueline, what is her reaction to the conversation? Jacqueline said it looks familiar. And Andy says, what do you mean by that? She said, in terms of Gordon being positive one moment and in the next, he's in a negative space. She says, she's seen Gordon get along with Ink really good, seen him not get along with Ink really good. She feels like it was just a bad situation. And she's told me in the past that she should not mix Ink and Gordon and the family household. So then Andy says to Mia, this was interesting. Your personal life seems to both frustrate and annoy a lot of people, both your friends and the viewers. Why do you think that is? Ashley says under her breath, because it's the lies. Mia says she thinks it's what she's going through. So I decided to be open about it. Wendy said no. They were when I tell you they were dragging Mia by her Dorothy Dandridge swoop on the side, dragging her. Mia says it does get confusing, and sometimes she's confused. We know. Kay said it seems like things were out of hand and it was all very toxic. And I can see how Gordon was having several episodes because Gordon is an elderly man. It was almost like elder abuse on TV. I said, now, Kay. She said, just trying to watch him navigate. Andy said, so Andy was coming to me as defense and said, in defense, basically, Gordon is the one that told the story about the paternity and Mia protected him. And she said, yeah, I did. Mia said, I allowed Gordon to make me look like a liar, to make me look like my stories are mixed up for a whole year. Again, Ink and Gordon were getting along. Then they get on the show and they're not. And I think that's the disconnect. Yes, Mia, for a whole year, Ink and Gordon, let's just go by what you're saying. What you're saying is true. Mia and Ink and Gordon were getting along great for an entire year. That's what you saw. Then they weren't. Yes, they weren't when the cameras were at it. And he had already told you he didn't want to film in front of the cameras, like film with Ink, this situation in front of the cameras. But for the kids' sake, he'll get along. So, yeah, I don't know. So, Mia says he actually wanted to show up today to apologize for making me look bad, but I didn't want it to be like an apology tour. On her live, she discussed it as well. Gordon said he wanted to come and apologize, and she told him no. So Giselle said, you say you regret bringing up the paternity and all that. You regret it because social media was tearing you to shreds. You don't regret it because of your kids. So, ooh. Mia said, I do regret it. Giselle said no, because if everybody, meaning social media, the viewers, if the world was on board with it, you would be like, I'm just being honest. Mia said, I'm sorry, this part was funny. Mia said, people have messaged me thanking her for being so transparent about her story. And the ladies were like, who? Then she says, the lies, the lies, the lies. Ashley says, it seems like you had a motive, i.e., you needed to bring something to the show. So you decided to bring it to the show. You were looking at this as a production instead of being genuine as to what was really going on. Now, while I do agree with that, Ashley, Michael's wife, Dean and Dylan's mama, Uncle Lump's niece, Sheila's daughter. While you did bring a lie, I'm not going to take that away from you as far as you're with Michael. You didn't get into details, I'll say that, but you brought some things with Michael. Let's not act like this isn't a production for you. Okay. But I do get what she was saying. Mia said, I was genuine. Giselle said, what happened with the paternity of your child, like that's deplorable. Wendy said, I remember when we were in Miami and we were talking about the relationships of the group, and we all said we were Destiny's Child. And you said, everyone is Michelle and I'm Beyonce. The ladies were like, she said that, and started laughing. So Andy said, justice for Michelle, no shade. And Giselle said, I love Michelle. I love Michelle. Wendy said, I'm Kelly though. And Ashley says, I'm Kelly. Mia said, I am the Beyonce. The rest of y'all are back up. So Andy asked Jacqueline, has Mia always had an odd relationship with the truth? Cha. You know what's interesting? Andy will ask this, but he's never asked it about Giselle, I don't believe. He'll just say it's adding sauce. But with Mia, he talks about a strange relationship with the truth. I guess he doesn't want to come out and call anybody, say they're lying or a liar, but Jacqueline said, for the most part, Mia is very honest. Has she exaggerated about things? Yes. I don't think Mia always noticed it, but I don't think she's a blatant liar. Mia says she shared that. She has shared that with me. Child, another viewer wrote in and said, the conversation, Mia, the conversation, if the conversation surrounding your kids bring stress to your life, what made you think it was okay to bring up Giselle's daughters in an even worse context? Child, the ladies all said, mm, 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 mm. I said they was all having flashbacks in that moment. If y'all go back and rewind, and that viewer says that, they were all like, child, I said, here we go, yo, here we go, yo. We about to get into it. So Mia said, I didn't think it was okay. And I actually apologized to Giselle. Giselle said, then you got in my face. And she goes to describe when Ashley was doing her Ashtown performance. She said, you got in my face when she was a man. And you tried to act like you were going to do something to me. They showed the flashback. Mia got up, walking over, saying, keep my kids' names out your mouth. And she was like pointing at Giselle, like in her face. So what was funny was Wendy said, where was this? Did they show this? Kay said, yeah, at the event. Giselle said, yeah, they didn't show it, but it happened. Mia said, that's because you were saying I was a terrible mother. Child, Giselle said, you have acted like one this season, a terrible mother, and I stand by that. No woman, no mother would put their child on a platform to discuss his paternity. No mother would do that. Mia gets up. Child, when Mia got up, she sachets off that show and off that couch and says, that's it. Ashley says under her breath, the truth hurts, I guess. Mia says, not my kids. Wendy says, I just don't get it. I don't do people doing ish and not being accountable for their ish. Giselle says, thank you, Wendy. After all the issues she did, now you want to get up and walk away? Itch, please. I said, oh yeah, she called Giselle's daughters. That was true. All the way the ladies react, a bunch like different, that all was true. Which is how I still don't see how Giselle was able to be hugging up on her and giving her a kiss at the Karen's Love the Gloom. But to me, what y'all think? To me, the ladies' reactions are very telling. And again, when who posted about it first? Was it the Bravo Shade Room or the Jasmine brand maybe? When it first came out that allegedly Mia called the girls and her and Giselle begged production to take it out. It was liked by Jacqueline and I think Dr. Wendy, but Jacqueline took her like back or it was gone. Shout out to cousin Rodney, the voice, for catching that. So yeah, they liked the post. So again, I think this is what truly happened. Anyway, so Kay says it's really unfortunate because this isn't an environment where husbands and children should be off limits. Kay, you're new here. We know. People say husbands and children and dogs and cats and grandmoms and my favorite auntie are off limits. Maybe it started out that way, but for the housewife that's on the show, anything surrounding her seems like it's not off limits, period. So we can say that, but we know that hasn't been the case for years and years and years and years. We just know that it hasn't. A lot of times, those are the stories that the wives have brought to the show. If husbands and children were off limits, Mia's whole story would be, like Wendy said, if you take it away, what's left? So even in a positive way, Giselle's beautiful daughters going off to college. We talk about that makes them part of the story, you know? So unless the kids are not shown at all and not talked about, like everybody's a part of the story, period. That's what it is with these housewives. So they take a break and we see Mia close her dressing room door. Then in Wendy's room, we see Eddie and Greg talking. Eddie knows the game, honey. Eddie is a housewife husband for real. He knows what to do. Let's call TJ. So they FaceTime TJ to see where he's at. He said he had to be evacuated due to the fires, but he's safe. Thank y'all for checking on me. Eddie said, we're at the reunion. We was hoping to see you. Child TJ said, I'm not going to that fake A show with those fake people. Then they say they're going to miss him. Eddie says, we got to link up next time you in DC. And then TJ goes into a more in-depth explanation of why he's not there, but they distort the voice so we don't hear it. But we see Eddie's reaction like, what? And Greg is like, we didn't know that, man. Wow, we didn't know that, man. We didn't know that, man. So then we do hear TJ say clearly, you got to talk to that girl, talking about Stacy. So we're back on the set. All the ladies are standing around. Some are walking off. We see Wendy gets a text from Eddie, and it says, Greg and I just FaceTime with TJ, and he dropped the bomb on us. So Wendy must have read the rest of it. And Wendy says, oh, shut the F up. And everybody's like, what? What happened? What's wrong? What's going on? What? And it goes off. I enjoyed this part of the reunion. Let me tell you something. They on me as behind, honey, as they should have been previous to others in other seasons when she was lying and assaulting Wendy and all of that. But we're here now. They're not letting up. They didn't put their foot on the gas. They're not letting up. Kay, somebody put a battery in her back, AKA she realized Greg has shown his disdain for the camera. And in order for her to stay around, she better let that voice be known like Portia did at her first reunion. So we shall see. I'm looking forward to part 3 to see how the news of Stacy paying TJ plays out amongst the group and what they say. So y'all let me know what y'all thought about part 2 of the reunion. Again, we are 3 hours away from Karen getting sentenced. I was going to go, but y'all, I do not feel like it. I feel like getting off this, climbing into the bed, watching Beverly Hills, and trying to take some notes. But we shall see. I'm going to take some more Alka-Seltzer. I love y'all so much. Thank y'all so much for every single view, for the comments, for the engagement, for the shares, for the y'all subscribing. I don't take that for granted. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all, I'm almost at 4K. Let's keep it going. Let's keep this going, y'all. Let's get to 4K. I love y'all so much, and I will talk to y'all later. See you.